Welcome to Let Them See You, the podcast that honors educators, the everyday heroes shaping futures with courage and heart. I'm your host, Sarah Hightower. This is your space to recharge, find joy, and embrace your power. Episode 11, Spotlight on Mental Health. We all know there is so much going on in the world today. Y'all, there are external and internal wars, both literally and figuratively. It can be internal within the country and also within yourself. You know, and I know that there is no way for us to control everything that's going on. That is why we focus on what we can control. What is in your locus of control? You cannot control what people are doing, right, in these wars, what people are doing when you see that there's yet another mass shooting or another, someone else has died at gunpoint for whatever reason. We have to come together and think about what can we do as individuals to promote supporting one another as human beings that are going to disagree, human beings that are going to have their own opinions. We have to be able to live together as one human race so that we can get through this thing called life together. The whole point of our country should be to be united. And I feel like we have some work to do on that. So hopefully we can get there. What we can work on, though, is how we can work on our own families, how we can work on our job and work together well with the people we work with. We can work together well within other organizations that we may be in, our church. You just need to think about what it looks like to be a human being that supports other human beings as people, right? And so feel joy, be kind, support one another. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. In just a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to Jessica Johnson. She is a board certified psychiatric nurse, and she helped me remember my why because I explained it to her one more time about this podcast. And she said, why this podcast and why did you call it Let Them See You? I had to think about that for a second. And I explained, I said, I think it's because I was in a place where I felt kind of in a rut, but I knew that education is for me. I know for a fact that I am supposed to be an educator, whatever capacity that's in. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be here. This is my purpose. I enjoy working with students. I enjoy working with teachers. I enjoy working with people in the central office. I enjoy working with parents. I enjoy working with the community. I enjoy working with everybody on my campus. I love this. So I knew that something else was going on within me because I had this feeling like, what is it that's missing? And I realized that it was because I felt like I was losing myself a little bit there. So I had to get it back on track and figure out who I was within the job, because you are not your job. You are a whole human being outside of that. So I had to get back to the root of who I was. And Let Them See You is about that. Get back to who you are. Find the joy within yourself so that gets poured into what you do. You don't want to lose yourself in your profession because then you are losing your purpose. And if you feel like you are doing that, you really need to stop, pause, and do some reflecting so that you can find it again. And so Let Them See You is about letting the world see who you are just as a person through your profession, through education. Everybody has a different personality. Everybody has a different, take on certain things. But share that, because when we bring together our different perspectives and different ideas in a way that is, productive and can support growth amongst one another, it can be a really powerful thing. So I love diversity. And I love when there's a lot of different people. And I don't mean just race, I mean a lot of different people from different backgrounds, as in even what their profession might be, or what they actually teach, or what they actually do within education. I love bringing all that together, all these different perspectives, and then seeing what we can get out of it, right? That brings me happiness. I like to see what happens as a result of that. I was in band for 6 years growing up. I was in band from sixth grade to 12th grade. And the happiness that I felt wasn't just the music, but it was how the music was created. I developed a strong sense of well-being and who I was in those formidable years, because I realized, well, I play the flute and there's some other like clarinets over there, and all the woodwinds are together, but then we have this brass section over here, and then we have percussion, and then we just brought it all together, and we even had different clefs that we were working on. And then when it comes together, we merged it with, like, during marching season, the color guard came, and we had all these visuals in our movements. All of that together created this beautiful picture that was made by all these different people and all these different instruments to create one gorgeous masterpiece of a show. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever to be a part of every year. I just love that. And I think that that's what we do in life, right? We all have our part that we learn. We all play the music and we memorize what it is that we need to do and to support the whole masterpiece of our music. And so when we come together and the music is played, whether it be in your house or wherever you go or wherever you work, and you hear that beautiful music, things happen that go well. And you know what I mean, when you feel it, something amazing and awesome is happening, and you just pause for a second and realize that this is cool. Those are the moments that I live for. I live for those moments where things just click and people just work together and things come together in a way that everyone says, we did that together. That is a wonderful thing. And that's what we're doing here on this podcast. We're bringing in different people with different perspectives, with their own ideas that can support educators and parents and students and administrators, so that we make this beautiful music together. And I hope that our conversation today with Jessica Johnson will help us think through some other ways and some specific resources that we could utilize to support your campus or your students, or even how you work with yourself when it comes to your mental health and social emotional well-being. So enjoy. Welcome, everyone. We have Jessica Johnson here with us today. I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Man, thanks for having me, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight.
Yay. Okay, so Jessica Johnson is a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, PMHNP. Get all those letters. With over 15 years of psychiatric experience, she is
hmm
dedicated to providing passionate, evidence based care to adolescents and adults. Jessica began her career at Johns Hopkins Hospital, where she treated patients with substance abuse, dual diagnosis, and eating disorders, and discovered her passion for electroconclusive therapy, ECT. Since returning to Houston in 2013, she has served in diverse leadership and clinical roles, including behavioral health nurse, house supervisor, ECT coordinator, and assistant director of nursing. Today, Jessica offers comprehensive psychiatric services, including medication management, while also serving as an advocate, educator, and therapist. Known for her approachable demeanor and strong clinical skills, Jessica is committed to improving mental health care and empowering patients and families through personalized, compassionate support. Thank you, Jessica, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. First of all, what are the most common mental health challenges you see in students and staff?
What I see most of is stress,
Mm,
um, burnout, academic excellence, imposter syndrome, that also leads to depression,
mm,
anxiety in our youth. I see it a lot. They strive and they have these goals that they want to meet, and very much so discouraged whenever they don't meet those goals. And so the pressures of life, all the AP courses, all the
mm.
college courses that you can now take in high school and all those type of things are
Yes.
actually affecting their mental health in a way that I'm seeing to be kind of almost detrimental at some point within their high school career. So
Yeah. And the same would be for staff, just those same issues.
same issue, burnout. Just like in nursing, we had staff shortages. We had people who are going there to focus on making the money, opposed to actually having the compassion to pour into those individuals
Yes.
within that setting. So it's real out there, and that's the reason what brought me to you, because I think if there's more knowledge
Mm,
on mental health, make it a normalized conversation, then there can be tools that can be put in place, that we'll talk about later with the resilience piece of it, so that we can just
yes.
all thrive and overall be just mentally healthy.
Yes, I agree with that. How can teachers recognize early warning signs of stress, anxiety, or depression?
So it shows up different. With adults, you may see it. We may have our tantrums, we may isolate and all those things. So we're used to depression. We may even gone through depression, and so
Hmm.
we know what it looks like. But
Hmm.
for the elementary all the way up until the 12th grade year, they may be irritable,
Hmm.
agitated. You may see a drop in their grades as well. So those are the type of things that I always see whenever they start to isolate or whenever they
Yeah.
start to be less interactive. They're no longer interested in living and doing their hobbies. I'm sorry, and we'll
Yeah.
start to see, okay, wait a minute, what is happening within the classroom? You may see it as well. They may be more reserved, put off. The way that they may dress and carry themselves also
Mm,
changes as well. So those are
yeah.
just some physical appearance type of situations that we may see, that maybe we say, okay, wait a minute, you're different. You
Yeah.
weren't this way, you were smiley, you were bubbly, but then all of a sudden there's been a shift. And so that
Yeah.
allows for the teachers and then also those around in that supportive community to come and say, hey, let's have a different conversation to make sure, again, that they're overall mentally healthy.
Right. And if it's an adult, it's the same thing happens. Your friends will let you know, like, hey, something's
Yeah,
off. What's going
they
on? Yeah.
correct,
Mm-hmm.
correct. You may even wear it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if
Guilty.
even you, that's what I'm saying. I don't even know. I know that I may have it. And what I teach myself is routines, like routines. I also teach the students and what I work in, even with my church, us being over the college ministry and student ministry. We tell them how to prioritize themselves. What are
Yes.
happy, healthy coping mechanisms in order for you just to thrive overall?
Yes. I love that. What are some simple strategies that schools can use to support staff mental health well-being?
I think implementing creative opportunities for the community to be
Mm,
involved.
mhm.
For example, we do Watchdog at our school. Have you ever heard of Watchdog before?
No, tell me more.
Okay, so Watchdog is a program that it's nationwide. And so the dads of the community come into the space where the kids are,
Mhm.
and they're an influence. As you know, when you have a male presence in there,
I
um,
lied. I heard about that. I'm so sorry.
yeah. Right, right, right. And so it's just different when a male presence is in there. And so my husband actually is oversees the watchdog at our facility, at our elementary school. And so he'll put or schedule different people to be in those different males to be in a presence in those classrooms, especially the ones that have behavioral issues.
Oh, I
So
see.
That is one. School-based solutions is another one I was actually looking into. And so it is a company that thrives on putting mental health personnel within the community, within those schools
Hmm.
that may have more behavioral issues than not, and they place them in there. So it's additional resources as
Yeah.
well for them to impart into their lives as well. So just being creative in those spaces.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
you know, without having to spend a whole bunch of money. What do we have in the community right now? Who do we have to serve and to be compassionate about the mental health overall? So
I think that's a great point. We have seen lots of different ways that parents get involved. We see a lot of support within the PTOs that come and they support in any way possible, even if it's cutting out things that the teacher needs, but you are
yeah,
visible, you are a presence on the
yeah,
campus, and that
absolutely.
makes a difference. Or there might be like a dad's on duty and they're helping in the car rider line or giving high
Yeah,
fives when kids come into the school. All of that matters.
it matters.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
To walk into somewhere and somebody greets you makes a difference. I don't know about you, but when I go into a store or a restaurant and there's a huge difference between going in and nobody says anything to you and going in and they say, "Hello, welcome. Come on
Exactly.
in." It makes a difference.
It does, and it provides a sense of rapport,
Hmm.
a sense of, I could be vulnerable within myself. I'm like, "Man, this person really cares, and compassionate of how I feel." Same goes with whoever is serving in that capacity, whether you've been, deemed to be a teacher, a mental health like a school counselor, or whatever role, assistant principal, whatever role, making sure that, you're taking care of yourself, first off. I wanna put that out there. You're taking care
Yes.
of yourself mentally so that you can pour into your calling.
Right. You can't pour from an empty vessel. That is true.
I-
How does mental health impact student learning and classroom behavior?
Um, so if there is a classroom that has a lot of behavioral issues, it can be a distraction.
Hmm.
Grades start to suffer because it may not be a conducive learning environment, right?
Hmm.
And so, what I also want to put into place is, have you ever heard of the prefrontal cortex?
Yes.
You have, and so, that's our logistical or
It's a
logical it's right there, and so the developmental years is what I'm gonna geek out a little bit. The neuronal connection
Mhm,
is where the nerves come together to make those connections as far as how you process up here. So
mhm,
3 to 11 is developing, ages 13 to 25, that's the critical, space in where it's attaching, and whatever learned behaviors, whatever you learn at your home
mhm.
and how well that you problem solve within your home, it'll whatever happens, however it happens, that's how it will produce as an adult. And so if you're faced with different behavioral challenges when you are between the ages, I guess it's middle school and high school, if you don't know how to conflict resolve, if every single time somebody comes to you, you want to fight or something like that, you don't know those specific behaviors that are comparable to adulthood, you seem to struggle a little bit
Yeah,
more. So some of those things, because of the fact that these kids are present in the classroom more than they at home. I mean, it's their
right.
second home.
Mhm.
This is where they learn a lot of how to interact with others, how to what behaviors are appropriate and not appropriate. And so making sure that again that we make the environment conducive. We understand mental health. We understand that if they're having depressive symptoms, not to say you need to get it together, you have behavioral issues, or I'm going to send you to the counselor, but that is a moment where we are supposed to, as the teachers, as the school counselors, pour into them as
Right,
well and make it a learning environment because then that's when they thrive because they know
right.
that somebody cares.
Mhm,
They may not have that at home. And working in mental health for over the years, I worked in inpatient
mhm.
and I saw so many kids, they come in there for months at a time before they may be shipped out somewhere because their parents just dropped them off at the door, right?
Oh, wow.
And so I had a patient, I'll never forget. He was 12 years old. He was a big guy, real big guy. They will always give him injections
Mm,
because he was so angry, like
mhm.
all the time. And so one day, but nothing was happening with those injections. But he would still have these behavioral issues, but he was still angry, hurt, and then he would become combative with the staff. I mean, we were
Right.
holding him down. I told
Wow.
everybody, step out the room. there is something there. There is a root cause that we're not getting
Yeah.
to, and we have to make sure that we understand the roots so that we can help him the way that we need to.
Mhm.
Sat down, he only needed a hug.
Wow.
Came from an environment that didn't show him any type of love. He came from a school system that didn't show him any care because of the way that he looked like somebody that could beat somebody up. And granted, he was
Mhm.
beating him up. But at that moment, I was able to break down those barriers,
Right.
because I cared enough to get
Yeah.
down to the root of what happened. So I just encourage, like, in those settings of teachers and having 5 kids of my own, making sure that whoever is watching over my kids when I'm not has the passion to get down to the root and why these behavioral changes may be occurring.
Right.
So
I agree with that, and kudos to you for getting to the root. I mean, you are a practitioner of this, so you know how to
mhm,
do that. But
yeah.
for someone who doesn't, who hasn't studied it, right, what could they do that would help them get to the root cause of some of the behavioral issues?
Uh-huh. I always say take a self check.
Mm,
Before you engage in any type of interactions with those persons that may be having behavioral issues, what is my heart posture? What am I doing? And I'm able to pour into this kid right now, or do I need to bring in somebody else, a part of my team, to say, hey, I need you to get this person? Because we may not, even me being a practitioner, I don't know all the answers,
right.
and so there might be somebody, my counterpart or my colleague, that may have to step in. And so that is one thing, self checking your heart posture and making sure you have the capacity
Mm,
to deal with the situation at that time,
mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so even with maybe even talking, have a conversation, always listening to the content and not the delivery, like,
Yes.
right? I think that's key as well, especially when communicating with those individuals. And we're talking about young people who are learning, who are trying to learn how to communicate, how to thrive,
Mm-hmm.
with the skill set and the environment that they're given. And so, making sure that we have that space and we provide that space of vulnerability and safety within
Right.
the classroom.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that term heart posture. Check your heart
Yeah,
posture. That is so important because
yeah,
sometimes you could come from a place of anger and it comes out as aggression, but you really need to check yourself before you handle the situation because you can make the wrong choice because
right.
your heart posture is wrong. Yeah, fix your posture. I love that.
Yeah.
What resources or referrals do you recommend for ongoing mental health support?
So Psychology Today, that's one that I typically refer to. Have you ever heard of them before?
No.
Okay, so Psychology Today is a platform that houses a whole bunch of therapists across the United
Okay.
States. Okay, when you go onto their website, you can actually go to a filter button, and when that pops up, it actually is a menu of all the things that you want to cover: trauma informed care, anxiety, depression, ADHD, all those things. You click whatever you want that therapist to really hone in on. Once you click and submit, those therapists that specialize in that particular area come up. And what I love about it the most is there's a picture, because people are drawing the pictures. Cost, so either it's cash pay or what insurance they take, and then immediately it's like an email or a phone number that you can reach out to them and go ahead and schedule an appointment. So that's one way. There are different organizations all across America. NAMI, I don't know if you ever heard of NAMI before.
I've heard of NAMI.
National Alliance Mental Health Illness. So they actually have a headquarters down here as well, very active in the community. So that's one place that you can reach out to.
Okay.
Any type of mental health fairs, I mean, hopefully in the local area, but I would just
Yeah.
kind of see what's available. Even with your
Mhm.
school counselors, they also
Yeah.
may have referral sources as well that you can reach out. Churches,
Mhm.
our church actually has one, a counseling center. So there are many community resources that you can reach out to, so you don't have to fight the battle by yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think of it as a resource, right?
Mm,
Right. And so if that resource, if the parent approves, of course, and that resource is provided, then they don't have to go look on their own,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
it's hard. The hardest part, especially in certain socioeconomical situations,
Mhm.
lack of insurance, lack of knowledge, and lack of resources. Then that means that they don't have to search on their own, but it's
Mhm.
kind of provided for them, or at least
Right.
the knowledge to go and seek out mental health, and there's support there. With that, then teachers are locked in because resilience is about just thriving, right? So teachers are locked in because they have support, and then also parents have support, and then students have support as well.
Right.
Does that
Yeah, it does. We're all a partnership, right? And so everybody wants to come together for the success of the student, for the success of the child. Nobody wants the child to come to school and feel unsafe or
yeah,
unwell, right? Their well-being is the top priority.
yeah,
They need to feel not necessarily happy every day because we all have feelings and emotions. And
yeah,
I don't have a problem telling children it is okay to feel your feelings. It is okay to do
it
that.
is.
It's
Mhm,
what we do with those feelings. We have to be careful of our actions, right? But it's
mhm,
okay to have feelings. We all have them. We
yeah.
all do. So I think that if we look at it from the lens of not an us versus them, right, type of thing, it's an all of us for students type of thing.
It really is. It takes the community, and that's what, like, even my abstract is about. Because I primarily see ADHD students. Like
Mhm.
95% of my patients are ADHD. Well, they have been diagnosed with bipolar. Well, if you really look at the DSM-5, it's really, really similar. And so I see a lot of my patients misdiagnosed. And it's like, man, if we come together and know what to ask, know I don't expect people to know all of the DSM-5, but at
Right.
least be knowledgeable about the
Yeah.
differences of what carries what, and don't just label them as bad children or
Right.
have a children with behavioral issues,
Mhm.
because what we do as teachers, what we do as counselors, what we do as mental health providers, we can be the change agent in how they are as adults.
Yes.
And so I just think, if anything else, we just really immerse ourselves, appropriately, of like, what does it look like for just simple, and you can just Google this, for my patient, if he comes with this presentation, what does that look like? Because at the end of the day, if you are able to pour into that kid your life, the way that you're able to go on with your program and all your lessons, if you're able to
Mhm. Mhm.
minimize, behavioral issues at that time.
Right. And as adults, sometimes, like you said, we forget to check in with ourselves. So
Yeah,
we have to think about what is it and the purpose of this podcast in general. What is it that brings you joy and how can you bring that to your role? I love music. When I was in the classroom, music was a huge part of what
yeah,
I did. We used it for transitions, we made up songs, we did
yeah,
chants. Why? Because it brought me joy and it brought the kids joy and they liked it. It was part of my personality pouring into them. And
yeah,
we made a connection with one another in that way because they knew that was me. If I had
yeah,
a class that liked baseball, I had one year where they were definitely into baseball. A lot of the students were on a team. And so the examples that I used in math, everything, it was baseball related. Everything was
mhm,
related to what they really liked. So
mhm.
that can make a difference because they feel seen and heard like,
Yeah,
oh, no, I like baseball. Look at us talking about baseball. Like it makes a difference though,
yeah,
because
it
you
definitely
get
does.
to know the kiddos and it
Yeah,
makes you happy because they're happy, right?
exactly. Yep, yep.
So just
And
thinking
that's how
about
your
that.
compass feel. Like, I mean, if you love what you do, like, that's where you get your fulfillment as well. And that in
Yes.
itself can fill your cup. I'm a huge advocate on pouring into yourself though. Making sure that you get enough sleep.
Mm,
Making sure that you're eating the right things. Serotonin is housed in our gut. So if we eat bad, we feel bad. So making sure that you're checking in and prioritizing your health, so that you can, again, just not be exhausted or tired whenever you go to work, and it can actually be an enjoyable experience as well.
yeah. Yeah. That that is so important to keep in mind because I think a lot of the time, even just as a person, me, when I'm the most upset, I have to think to myself, and when I'm talking to a child, my own children, I have to think, have they eaten? Did they go to sleep?
Yep.
Are they cold? Just the basic
Yeah.
necessities. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, "Oh, you're hungry, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get something to eat." Because
Yeah.
they'll, as an adult, I'm thinking to myself, "Man, I'm a little bit, on edge. What is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't get enough sleep." But you have to check in though and make
Uh-huh.
sure you think about that because it makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate on that. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. Of
All right. Jessica, you have given us a lot of gems. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us
course.
again the name of your practice.
Fresh psychiatry and wellness. I'm focusing on integrated psychiatry. So yes, I do med management. Yes, I do diagnosing, but the heart of it is what we talked about today: educating the masses, letting them know that holistic measures can be brought in. It doesn't always have to be medication, and
Mhm.
so that's where my practice is going to be based on. And it's coming January 2026. So.
Yay, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yay. I just love when people with these hearts of gold pour into the world. We need more
Oh,
of
yeah,
that. We need a whole lot more of that.
we do.
There's a lot going on right now, and there's a lot that can weigh you down and
Mhm.
make you feel a lot of anxiety immediately when you see
Yeah,
it, hear about it. I mean, it's almost every day.
yeah,
There's something going on. But it's important to know that there are people and places that you could go to support you and help you move throughout your life in a better way so that you
yeah,
make better decisions and you feel
for
better.
sure. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
All right.
So it
Well,
was definitely a pleasure. I enjoyed being on here tonight. So
yeah, you can come back. We'll have you back. We always need to talk about mental health.
listen, okay, and I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Yes. And we all need to check our heart posture.
Listen, okay.
Yes. All
All
right.
right,
Thank you,
yeah. You're
Jessica.
welcome. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much to Miss Jessica Johnson. We really appreciated your input and insight, and please do join us again. Everybody can probably agree that there is enough that we take on a daily basis that could cause us to feel heavy. And feeling heavy is not fun. You want to lighten the load of immediately when you feel it. And so when you have those around you that are close to you that notice it, pay attention, listen to them because your loved ones will say something is off. What can we do? Tell me what's wrong. And you might not know. You might not even be able to pinpoint what the issue is. And that's okay. But hopefully, there's someone that you're able to reach out to and talk to about how you're feeling so that it doesn't just stay on you. Getting things off your chest, as they say, is a term that came about probably because people felt heavy. It literally is difficult to walk around feeling like there's a ton of bricks on you and you can't move in the way you want to move and feel in the way you want to feel because it's just heavy. And so to lighten your load, you have to let things out, let things off, remove things. And however it is that you get those things removed, you need to work through that. It can be having a conversation with a professional. It can be talking to a family member or friend. It can be prayer. It can be meditation. It can be exercise. It can be writing. But take the time to pause and reflect on how you're feeling and share it. Share it so that it gets off of you and you're not so heavy. We have all been there. I don't know anyone that hasn't been in a place where they just felt like things were a little bit uneasy and they felt anxious and they felt heavy. We don't want that. We want to be sure that we kind of lighten our load by having a conversation and getting things off our chest. So my tip of the week today, and for the rest of this week, I want you to be thinking about, as Jessica said, your heart posture. Check your heart posture. Think about where your feelings are coming from before you tackle an issue. Is it coming from something within you that is already bubbling up, and so your response to a situation is a result of that? Or are you in a place mentally and emotionally to handle the situation? If it is the latter and you don't feel like you're in a place mentally and emotionally to handle the situation, it is okay to say, I'm not in a place to deal with this right now. Can you get so-and-so? Or can we, table this and come back to it another time? That is okay. And if someone says that it's not, you can explain, if we do this right now, I don't feel like I would be giving my best, right? I need to be coming from a place that is clear-headed and open to receive any feedback, open to different perspectives, because when you're heavy, you're also closed. And so people that are closed struggle to receive, right? And not only do they struggle to receive, they struggle to give appropriately. So that is not productive. We want to be sure that we can be productive with what we do and what we say. So check your heart posture. Determine if you are in a place to have the conversation, in a place to handle the situation, to solve the problem. If you are not, work on getting to that place as someone else handles that situation. If it's something that has to be handled right then, right? If it's something that's going on at home and you can kind of ask for a moment to handle it later at a later time, that's fair. Ask for it. But my ask is that you be sure to just reflect on how you're feeling and be honest about it. If you are feeling a sense of heaviness, anxiety, you can't really get through to your emotions yet, that has to be tackled first before you try to handle something else. And remember, I am nobody's therapist. I am not Jessica Johnson. I am not a licensed board certified nurse practitioner for psychiatry. I don't have all of that. But I do understand what it means to be emotionally sound, to have some sense of where you are within yourself. Make sure that you check in with yourself daily so that you know where you are. Okay? And we can then all come together and work together in the best way possible. Okay? So don't forget, rediscover your joy, embrace your true self, let them see you. Thanks for listening to Let Them See You. Until next time, climb with courage, stand in the light, let them see you.